A great way to build your faith for healing is by watching healing testimonies from other believers, just like you, who have received their healing by faith. Let's take a moment and let this powerful testimony minister to our spirits.
And we took him to the hospital, and they said they wanted to do some other tests and rule out, leukemia, because they went through all the different things that they thought it may be. And they said, well, tomorrow we'll check and just to make sure it's not leukemia. We want to rule that out. And then the next day we did find out that he did have leukemia.
I just wanted to just hold him and just, maybe if I can hold him enough, that it would go away. It would just, leave him, and, sadness. That's what I felt. It was a hard time just to see, this is our child, and he's going through this.
At the age of 3, Daniel Wommack was diagnosed with cancer. The diagnosis overwhelmed his parents, but William and Peggy knew that God was bigger than this disease.
It was a shocker, because we just knew we were praying, we were shouting down, we were rebuking, it's not going to happen. We're pleading the blood and everything, and it was a shocker. It was just like, how could it be? But we didn't dwell on it. We just, okay, so that's what they're saying he's diagnosed with. What is our next step? And we know who God is, and we know what he does. He's not the author of sickness. He doesn't put sickness on people to punish or to teach them a lesson or anything like that. So we knew right off the back, it wasn't God.
At first, when we decided to go ahead and go with chemotherapy, we said we're going to mix the word with, the chemotherapy. The Lord actually began to speak to us and said, begin to take authority over every medication that he takes. So we would plead the blood over the medication, that it would not harm him nor cause him pain, but it would go and do its assignment, which is to go and destroy those bad cells. We were supposed to stay in the hospital. The doctor said it would, possibly a month or so, or even more, but we ended up being out after a couple weeks. But what we did was we began to get on the Word. We got Brother Copeland's tapes and CDs and Gloria Copeland's Healing School. We began to feed that. We actually put the CDs in the room, the hospital room, allowed us all to listen because we all stayed in the hospital. So we all listened to the tapes and just began to speak over him, plead the blood over him.
The Wommacks are active members of Eagle Mountain International Church and immediately called their church family for prayer and support. On March 11th, 2007, Pastor George Pearsons prayed over Daniel and had a word for them.
So as he prayed for us, we could feel strength rising up on the inside. He actually gave us a plan on, this is what we need to do to follow through with this, to stand on the Word, and this is what I want you guys to do. And he gave us some information as far as how to get through this process. And he said, just walk with us, walk with me, and you'll see how this thing happens and this works out.
While they were attending a Southwest Believers Convention, Kenneth Copeland had the opportunity to pray with the Wommack family.
Brother Copeland actually laid hands over him, spoke over his blood, prayed over him, and laid hands over each one of us. So it was a great experience, because to have the man of God, a prophet of God, come and speak over him. He said Daniel's healed, whole, his blood is clean. And he called him a great man of God, and just to have that experience and have him come and do that was, he didn't have to do that. He could have just gave him a hug and said, okay, that's it. But he took the time and actually spoke to him, spoke to us, and prayed over us, and that's a blessing to see, that he's the same way, behind the scenes as he is, in front of the scenes. So,
after believing and standing on God's promises, the Wommacks received good news from the doctors.
Each time we started getting tests, we could see the different counts as far as the leukemia cells that were in there. And each time we got a report back as far as from the bone marrow aspirates, they started getting less and less. It was 0.05 and 0.04, 0.01, and then when finally we got the report as far as no leukemia, and we're like, well, praise God, this is what we've been believing for, this is what we've been standing for, this is what we've hoped for.
In the end, we stood on the Word, and because we believed in God and trusted in God, we got the manifestation of His healing, His wholeness.
The Wommacks know exactly what it means to live in the blessing.
You can't separate the blessing from God. The blessing can do the same exact things that God does. So if the blessing's here on earth for us, God's here for us on earth, working in our lives, causing things to happen that wouldn't happen without that blessing. And it makes things work out for the perfect way.
And this year, God blessed us with our trip to Disney World. Not only did He bless us with the trip, everything was paid for. We didn't have to pay for anything at all. And we got to go not only to Disney World, but we got to go to Universal, we got to go to SeaWorld. It was just awesome. And We didn't have to worry about anything. Everything was given to us, and that definitely was the blessing. That was the blessing God's way.
I thank God for my family. You know, I have my wife and 3 children, and healthy and whole, and you know, God's blessed us with a new house, and there's so many things that He's doing in our lives progressively, you know, teaching us His Word, and just being able to spend time with Him and enjoying Jesus it's just wonderful.
Wow, what an amazing testimony of God's faithfulness. Do you know the same healing power is available to you?